What if the object protecting everyone from the monsters was never the most important object in From? The talisman has looked like the closest thing this nightmare has to a rule. But Season May 4th have exposed a much darker truth. The talisman protects your body, but what if another object controls your path? What if the thing that looks like an escape route is actually part of the prison? Because once you understand what the faraway trees may really be doing, the entire mystery of Fromville starts to look different. Think about what a talisman actually does. It protects people from one immediate threat. It does not explain why the town exists. It does not explain why people are brought there, why the past keeps appearing in the present, or why certain characters keep finding themselves in impossible places. The faraway trees do something completely different. They move you. They take you from one part of the nightmare to another, sometimes without giving you real control over the destination. Sarah enters one and reaches the cellar. Boyd is thrown into a place connected to the past. Dale enters one believing he can escape and ends up trapped somewhere impossible. Tabitha's journey shows that these supernatural pathways can even connect Fromville to the outside world. Season 4 makes this harder to ignore. The bottle tree becomes central to the mystery, while the faraway tree becomes directly connected to the fate of the talismans. In the finale, the bottle tree is pulled from the ground, while Sophia collects the talismans from around town and takes them toward a faraway tree. The objects everyone believed represented safety suddenly become part of the tree's story. The tree may be part of the mechanism controlling the town. Now look at the faraway trees differently. We have always treated them like magical doors. You enter here, you come out somewhere else. But From has never given us a reason to believe they are simple. Victor has spent decades studying them. He knows they can move people, and entering one does not guarantee a safe destination. That difference matters. A normal door takes you where you choose to go. A faraway tree takes you somewhere according to rules you do not understand. You may choose to enter it, but you do not necessarily choose what happens after you disappear. And that is where the theory becomes terrifying. What if the faraway trees are not escape routes at all? What if they are the town's transportation system? Imagine Fromville as a giant machine. The roads keep people from leaving. The monsters control the night. The talismans create temporary safe zones. The tunnels hide history. And the faraway trees control movement between different parts of the system. Suddenly, every major supernatural element has a possible function. Nothing is random. Everything could be pushing the survivors toward another stage of the same nightmare. This could explain why the trees keep connecting to people who are already touching the deeper mystery. Victor understands them. Boyd keeps getting pushed toward impossible discoveries. Julie's storywalking suggests that the supernatural rules may reach beyond normal time. Tabitha's journey has shown that the pathways can lead beyond Fromville. So the question is not whether the trees can take people somewhere. We already know they can. The real question is who decides the destination. And there is another reason this matters. The trees do not simply appear when someone needs a shortcut. They are connected to some of the biggest turning points in the story. Every time a character enters one, the consequences reach far beyond that single moment. A person disappears, another mystery opens, and suddenly the survivors are forced to question something they thought they understood. That makes the tree feel less like a doorway and more like a trigger. It sends the story somewhere. Maybe that is why Victor fears them. He has lived with these trees longer than almost anyone. He remembers what they can do, but he also understands that knowing a tree exists does not mean knowing where it leads. That uncertainty may be the entire point. If the destination is controlled by a hidden rule, then the survivors can never fully predict what their choices will cause. Because if the town controls where the tree sends you, then it does not need to control every decision directly. It only needs to control the consequences. Someone enters a tree because they are desperate. The tree sends them somewhere unexpected. That place reveals a clue. The clue creates a new problem. Suddenly, the survivors believe they are solving the mystery while actually following a path the town created for them. That would make the faraway tree more frightening than the talisman. A talisman can protect you from a monster for one night. A tree could decide what happens to you tomorrow. It could control your next discovery, your next danger, and possibly your next choice. The survivors may believe they are moving closer to freedom, while every step is actually taking them deeper into the same design. Season 4 leaves us with one more reason to take this seriously. The talismans are now directly connected to a faraway tree. If the object everyone trusted for safety can become part of the tree story, then maybe the talismans were never the key. Maybe they were only one part of a much larger system. And if the faraway trees are part of that system, then the next question becomes impossible to ignore. Who built it? And this is where the faraway tree theory becomes much more disturbing. If the trees are part of the town system, then the biggest mistake the survivors may have made is assuming that every supernatural object has only one purpose. The talismans protect people. The bottle tree carries information. The tunnels hide secrets. The strange symbols trigger visions. But what if these objects are not separate mysteries at all? What if they are different parts of the same mechanism? Because From has repeatedly shown us that whenever the characters think they have discovered one answer, that answer only opens another door. And sometimes that door leads directly back to the same mystery. The faraway trees fit perfectly into that pattern. They look simple from the outside. A tree is standing in the forest, someone enters it, and suddenly they are somewhere else. But the important part is not the movement. It is the lack of control. The person entering the tree does not know where they will appear. That means the tree has something the survivors don't have: control over the destination. And if control over movement exists inside a place designed to trap people, then maybe the tree was never a weakness in the prison. Maybe it was one of the prison's strongest features. Think about how powerful that would be. A normal prison needs walls, guards, locks, and controlled doors. But Fromville does not work like a normal prison. The road itself bends the rules. You can drive for hours and somehow return to the same place. The forest changes the meaning of distance. The monsters force everyone into specific locations at night. And now we have trees that can move people instantly. This doesn't look like a random collection of supernatural events anymore. It looks like a world where movement itself is controlled. That could explain why escaping Fromville has always been so difficult. The survivors are not simply trapped inside a location. They are trapped inside a system of movement. Every road leads back. Every night changes the rules. Every attempt to explore creates another danger. And whenever someone discovers a supernatural shortcut, that shortcut comes with its own mystery. The faraway trees may be the perfect example. They give people something that looks like freedom while taking away the one thing freedom actually requires: control. Because what good is an escape route if you don't know where it leads? That question becomes even more important when we look at what happened with Dale. He believed he had found a way around the normal rules. The tree looked like an opportunity. He didn't need the road. He didn't need to fight the monsters. He didn't need to understand the town. He only needed to enter the tree. But the result was catastrophic. Instead of reaching safety, he ended up somewhere impossible. And that moment tells us something important about the trees. They can offer possibility without offering certainty. Now imagine that this is exactly what the town wants. The town doesn't have to stop everyone from discovering the trees. In fact, it may be better if the survivors discover them. Give them hope. Give them a shortcut. Give them the feeling that they have finally found a way to break the rules. Then let the trees send them somewhere they never expected. The result is psychologically devastating because the survivors begin to doubt not only the town, but their own decisions. That is one of the most dangerous things about Fromville. It doesn't simply attack people physically. It attacks their understanding of reality. A person thinks they understand the rules, then something happens that breaks those rules. They think a place is safe, then something changes. They think a vision is a warning, then they discover it may be something else. They think they are choosing their own path, then the consequences lead them somewhere they never intended to go. The faraway trees fit perfectly into that psychological design. And this may also explain why Victor's knowledge of the trees is so valuable. Victor doesn't treat the supernatural like a normal person would. He has learned to survive by remembering patterns. He notices changes other people ignore. He remembers where things were. He remembers what happened before. He understands that Fromville has rules even when those rules make no sense. But there is a difference between knowing that something has rules and knowing who created those rules. Victor may know how the trees behave, without knowing why they behave that way. And that distinction could become extremely important in Season 4. Because if the survivors finally stop asking, "What does this tree do?" and start asking, "Why does this tree exist?" they may get much closer to the real mystery. Maybe the tree is not simply moving people through space. Maybe it is moving them through a sequence. That sounds strange at first, but look at the pattern of the story. One discovery leads to another. One character finds a clue, which causes someone else to investigate. That investigation creates a new danger. The danger forces another character to make a choice. That choice opens another mystery. And before anyone can stop it, everyone is moving toward the next stage. What if the faraway trees are connected to that process? What if they are not only transportation points, but junctions where the town redirects people? Then the person entering the tree may be more important than the location of the tree itself. The town may not send everyone to the same place because every person has a different role in the mystery. One person needs to discover something. Another needs to remember something. Another needs to experience something. Another needs to survive something. And the tree could be the mechanism that places each person exactly where the story needs them. That would make the trees terrifyingly intelligent. But perhaps the trees aren't intelligent at all. Maybe something else is using them. And this brings us back to the biggest question surrounding Fromville. What is actually in control? Is it the monsters? Is it the mysterious force behind the visions? Is it connected to the children? Is the boy in white part of the system? Or is he simply another piece trapped inside it? Or is the town itself something much older and much stranger than any character has imagined? We still don't have a confirmed answer. But there is one pattern we cannot ignore. Whenever the survivors believe they have found a way to understand the town changes the rules around them. Section 3. Julie may be the character who changes the meaning of the faraway trees completely. Because her connection to the supernatural is different from almost everyone else in Fromville. Other characters have been moved through space. Julie has experienced something that suggests the rules may reach beyond space itself. Her story raises the possibility that the town is not only controlling where people go, but also when certain events can be experienced. And if that is true, then the faraway trees may be connected to something much bigger than teleportation. Think about what that would mean. If a tree can move someone from one location to another, then the basic rule is already impossible. But if the supernatural system can also connect different moments, then the tree could be acting like a junction between realities. One path could lead somewhere physically distant. Another could lead towards something that should belong to the past. And another could connect to a moment that has not happened yet. Suddenly, the trees are no longer just strange objects in a forest. They become possible entry points into the architecture of Fromville itself. And that could explain one of the biggest problems in the entire story. Why does the past keep appearing? Why do old symbols, old objects, old stories, and strange memories continue to affect people who arrived much later? Why does Fromville feel like it has been waiting for the current survivors long before they ever arrived? And why do certain characters seem connected to events they could not possibly have witnessed? Maybe the answer is that Fromville doesn't experience time the way we do. Maybe the town isn't moving forward. Maybe it is repeating. If that is true, then the faraway trees could be the points where those repetitions overlap. Imagine a massive circle instead of a straight road. You enter at one point, travel through the system, and eventually return to another point in the same structure. You may think you are moving forward because everything around you is changing. But underneath it all, the same pattern keeps repeating. That would explain why Fromville feels so familiar, even when nobody can explain it. The survivors arrive, they discover the monsters, they find the talismans, they search for an escape, they uncover deeper mysteries, and just when they believe they are close to an answer, another layer appears. It is almost as if the town has a script, and the faraway trees may be helping the characters follow it. This is where Julie becomes extremely important. If she can interact with moments outside normal time, then she could potentially see something the others cannot. She may be able to understand that an event is not simply happening once. It could be part of a larger sequence. A character may think they are discovering something for the first time, while the town may already have experienced that exact situation before. And if the town remembers, then the survivors are in serious trouble. Because humans forget. The town may not. Victor is the perfect example of why memory could be so important. He has spent an incredible amount of time inside Fromville, and his memories are fragmented. But his drawings, his stories, and his strange reactions to certain places suggest that his mind is carrying pieces of something much bigger. He doesn't always understand what he remembers, but he knows that forgetting can be dangerous. Maybe that's why the town constantly creates confusion. Maybe confusion is protection. If the survivors cannot connect the clues, they cannot see the pattern. If they cannot see the pattern, they cannot understand the system. And if they cannot understand the system, they will continue making choices that the system expects them to make. This is why the faraway trees could be more important than the talismans. The talisman gives you protection from a threat you can see. The tree may control a threat you cannot see. A monster can chase you. A tree doesn't have to. A monster can kill you. A tree can simply move you. And sometimes being moved to the wrong place can be more dangerous than being attacked directly. Think about what happens when someone is separated from the group. Suddenly they lose information, protection, and trust. They don't know where they are. They don't know what is waiting for them. They don't know whether they are closer to freedom or deeper inside the nightmare. The tree creates exactly that situation. And if someone or something controls where they arrive, then the tree can manipulate the entire story without ever directly attacking anyone. That may be the genius of Fromville. It doesn't always need to force people. It only needs to create circumstances where people choose what it wants. Someone chooses to enter the forest because they need an answer. Someone enters a tree because they believe it can save them. Someone follows a vision because they think it contains a clue. Someone risks their life because they believe they are finally close to the truth. But what if the town knows exactly how desperate they are? What if every supernatural clue is designed to create another choice? And what if those choices eventually lead everyone toward the same destination? That would mean the town isn't simply trapping bodies. It is shaping behavior. The monsters create fear. The talismans create hope. The visions create curiosity. The trees create movement. The mysteries create obsession. And together, all of these things could push the survivors through a specific psychological process. First, they're afraid. Then they learn the rules. Then they become confident. Then they discover that the rules are incomplete. Then they search for answers. Then they become obsessed. Then they begin taking greater risks. And eventually, they become willing to enter places they would have considered impossible when they first arrived. That transformation may be the real purpose of Fromville, because the people who arrive are not necessarily the people who leave, if anyone ever leaves. And this creates another terrifying possibility. Maybe the town does not need to control every person equally. Maybe it only needs to identify certain people who are capable of reaching deeper levels of the mystery. That could explain why certain characters repeatedly become connected to the supernatural. They may not simply be unlucky. They may be important. Julie could be important because of her connection to time. Victor could be important because of his memories. Boyd could be important because he refuses to stop searching for rules.